Welcome to Passion of the Arts, where we interview a series of students from the dramatic arts all the way to the visual art. What is their passion? What are their life challenges? Where do they see themselves in the future? These are questions we are going to answer today.
After doing academic finance for so long, I began to feel dance deprived, and I needed dance, so I had to switch my major. I couldn't take it anymore.
And what have you learned by taking dance that you didn't know before?
I learned that as a choreographer, there was a lot that I needed to improve on, and taking dance here really helped me with that. They taught me how to not come off so strong, to come in a little softer, and gradually work towards bigger movement within my dances, more emotion. That's pretty much what they taught me here as a dancer.
And how are the professors who teach dance?
They're pretty honest, which is something that you do need as a dancer. They're not afraid to be too critical with you and let you know what it is that you need to know as a dancer.
Wow.
Usually when the professor demonstrates things, it's usually different. You kind of have to take a minute to think about what they just did, because at the same time they're trying to come in not just showing you the typical everyday thing you see in dance, but something new and different that you have to think about, which is pretty necessary for a dancer that's trying to grow, something new. And that's what they offer here, something new.
And how's the dance community here at CSI?
At CSI, the dance community is extremely loving and friendly, and everybody's so different and diverse. Like, there's a crumper here, a ballerina, people that dance the same style that I dance, African dance, and so many different things. Like, not only am I learning from my professors, but I'm also learning from the dancers as well.
What's your favorite style of dance?
My favorite style of dance, I would say contemporary, but I don't really think it has a name. It's like a mixture of technique with like different movements, modern movements, weird movements that you wouldn't typically see, but still pretty to the eye. That's my favorite style of dance, emotion-wise. I like to dance with emotion.
So how supportive are your family with you choosing dance instead of microeconomics?
That's the question everybody always asks. I mean, they are supportive of my dance because they love to watch it. But at the same time, I know there's the question of, can you really make money off of this? Is this really right? Is this really the standard way? It's kind of unorthodox, and for my dad and his ways, that I'm Haitian American, so it's kind of unorthodox. But my dad supports me, my mom supports me, and that's all that matters.
And what would you say to future students coming into the major?
What I would say to future students coming here to CSI to pursue dance is that come here humble and open-minded and ready to take on what the professors have to offer, not thinking you know it all. That way you can honestly receive everything here that they give to you.
So what kind of work are you working on right now?
As of right now, I have a couple things I'm juggling with, other than just painting still lifes. I have a project that I'm working on at home, actually, and it's about the revolution that's going on in Egypt, or that did happen in Egypt, and it's exploring a whole bunch of ideas, essentially, and what's happening. It actually all started when the revolution happened. I got this idea in the back of my head, and basically what the concept is, what I'm trying to show and what I'm trying to communicate, is what's happening, how this movement, this Arab Spring, started out with the youth and their energy, their spirit, and everything was happening, and how in the long run the old tradition, in a way, basically dissected, right, and just shut out the youth, their voice, their power. They inhibited them, essentially. And of course the argument can go back and forth, but through that they've lost their voice, and that's one of the visual pieces I'm working on, is literally a figure, a praying figure, and it's on 5 different panels, and each one, the mouth, and each one represents how these young revolutionaries, essentially, were inhibited or segregated from their own movement that the older generation took over eventually, and through by muting them, through by literally holding them back and obstructing their work, and basically, like, what I want to get to with this project is seeing or showing how the older generation have transformed how the youngsters are perceived, or the young revolutionaries, and how that's transforming the youngsters, the young people, and how it's destroying them. They are incubated in a way to these stereotypes, and we're not growing as young revolutionaries. And what happened and initially started is beautiful, and it's something that should not be inhibited. You know, and I wish it could even, I don't know, I wish things were different, but I mean, initially it's a good thing, I guess. I don't know. I actually like CSI and the people around me. It's, they're good people, and basically we all feed off each other's energies, and we grow, we uplift each other, you know, towards, because we're all going for this one vision, I guess, or through different lenses in a way. But yeah, I mean, all of us are nearing graduation, so all of us have dreams that we want to fulfill, and that's getting straight to the core, to the point, and that's a good thing, because everyone's on fire now, and they really want to succeed in what they do. So we all just strive, and we're all planning on what we're going to do after college and what we need to do and everything. And in a way, it's a good thing. It's a good place to be right now, especially with what's going on, and it's exciting. Yeah. So very good vibes.
Right now, I'm a double major in psychology, BS in psychology, and dramatic arts.
What made you double major?
Well, at first, I really wanted to do dramatic arts, and then I wanted to combine it with something that I also enjoyed, psychology. I enjoy learning about the mind and learning about how people function. And I thought, now that I'm doing more research, I found that you can actually combine the two. There's a topic called drama therapy, music therapy, where I can combine something that I love to do and something that I feel could be substantial. The resources are really good. They have a lot of acting thesauruses and acting books inside the library, and there's a lot of different professors that you can speak to on the side if you ever need any help. And just the students, if you just want to see how people react to your scenes or see what other people think about your scenes, then you could always find some random students that are walking around and say, hey, would you like to listen to this, see how it's going?
And how was your family when you told them you wanted to do dramatic arts?
They were really supportive. They've always told me to reach for the stars and to go for my dreams, and they were actually going to look into doing dramatic arts completely and going to a completely dramatic arts school. But it was my own choice to combine multiple majors, and that's why I chose this school. I say do it. If you have a love for it, if you have a passion for it, and it really feeds your soul, there's nothing else like it. And do what you like to do.
So what type of theories have you learned here at CSI?
There's been quite a few theory classes that I've jumped on, and the professors, they're really good. I did film theory, which was really enjoyable because it shows you several different ways to look at films from, you know, different perspectives. Like, say you were to look at it through a feminist perspective, like you start to notice things. Like, you notice patterns in films. The man is always dominant. They're always impaled with a phallic-looking object, be it a knife or the bottom of a fence. It always happens to these female villains, and I guess you could say what the professor was kind of explaining, that it's showing the patriarchal dominance of, like, say, the studio system and film in general. Great example, I wrote a paper on Alien, and my whole crazy theory was basically said that the monster is male aggression in its most primal form, because when you look at that creature, everything about it screams male. It's got a phallic-shaped head. Its main weapon comes out of its mouth. It forcibly rapes and impregnates others. Like, it's a male monster to the max. Through these classes, you see that there's layers to them. It's like yes, there's everything you see in front of you, but as you watch them more and more, you start to locate deeper meanings in them. You could take a simple film like Star Wars, and you see the relationship between fathers and sons, and it's just wild, and how it's connected to Shakespeare, to all the way to ancient Greek myth, and it's amazing.
So you're basically seeing the meaning under the images.
Yes.
Interesting. So what's your major?
My major is cinema studies, but I had changed it to cinema productions because I'm not really a critical thinker. I'm more of a productions gal.
Why?
Why? I mean, it's hands-on. I don't really like, there's only so much you can do with the critical thinking. I feel like it does coincide with the production work, but there's more to it than just the studies of film. There's, you got to create it to understand the whole dynamic of it. So, I mean, I love being a part of something, being able to control it. That's my thing. I like directing. I like producing. I like creating the content, making sure that it goes through well. It follows through. Yeah, I mean,
All right.
111. I had Professor Maddock, and he taught me how important a production binder was. So immediately, first walk into the door and it's like, okay, you need a production binder, you need your storyboard, you need all this. I didn't realize the full extent to that. I thought I was prepared and I wasn't. 120 comes around and that's basic editing, and I had already been thrown into Final Cut Pro, so I was pretty proficient with that already, and then took my documentary class, which was my first real project. I had hours of footage, crazy hours of footage, and I didn't realize how important media management was. So that's something that I learned with that.
And action.
Okay, I'm coming. Okay. No!
And you get into the 200 level courses, and it's really about your aesthetics, cinematography. You got to know how things work, how things are going to be framed, how things are going to be put together. 300 level, I feel like I became really proficient with my editing, just being forced to learn shortcut keys and be the best that I can be as an editor. But yeah, and I think one of my favorite classes was 16 millimeter, just because it was so challenging. You don't really, with digital, everything's so easy. Everything's just kind of spoon-fed to you. And a lot of students complain that it's really difficult, but it's not. It's really not compared to film itself, something physical about it. So you learn a lot from your mistakes in these classes. And if you're not making any mistakes, then you're not learning anything. You could be coming out with some really good stuff, but when you do finally make a mistake in the real world, you're you're screwed.
And what would you say the future of film students coming into the major?
Working at the Film and Video Lab, the Cage, I try my best with all the 111 students coming in, just the 100 level students coming in. I try to inspire them and show them what these classes can do for them. I try and show them hey guys, look what I did. I was how I did it? You make friends, you do this, you do that. I give them all the advice, but my best advice when I tell any of the students, if you're passionate about it, it's going to take a lot of work. If you're not passionate about it and you're lazy, obviously it's not going to happen. But I tell students all the time, I'm do you want to do this? And they're like, yeah. Then you have to make sacrifices. That's the biggest thing. Make sacrifices and make friends. This is a cutthroat business, but if you find the right people to work with, it should work out. And it's all about networking. So if you're not, creating a collective of students that, you're comfortable with making a project, you're going to have a hard time. It's what it's about.
Now that you see all the hard work it takes to achieve your dream, I'd like to thank you for watching this film and hope for you to consider the arts.
Rolling. All right, rolling. What is it? 16. Lily, take one. You guys both see it?
Yep.